performance. So for example, in my business, let's have a business coach that helps us drive performance in terms of how we're taking the business. Because in terms of mentoring, if I was trying to change my career whatsoever, then that would be in terms of my development, where I want to go for my own personal aspiration. That's the simplest way of explaining it. Do you want to
well, I think another way of also approaching that question is, as somebody who is looking for something to emulate or follow, when you want to look for a mentor or look for a coach. If you're looking for a mentor, then you're looking for somebody who's more or less achieved something that you want to emulate directly. Okay. So if you want to be a marathon runner, you don't want to be mentored by a sprint. They would know a lot about it. And vice versa. And then coaching, the difference with that is somebody who's just literally going to give you direction and help you achieve your goals. So you will go to somebody who you know has the resilience to help you stay the course. Yeah. They don't actually need to be an expert in exactly what you want to be coached in. Okay. They just have to be able to help you get the best out of yourself. Okay? That's the key.
I'm actually quite good, and I won't add to this, but I live for a good analogy, right? So let's say you're in a room, and in that room you have to achieve something, maybe a job, your career, football player. I've always seen it this way, and I'll add a third person, which is a sponsor, into this equation. So maybe we just do all three from now on. A coach is there to help you perform better whilst in the room. For certain tasks, a coach might shift, they might change over time. A mentor sits in the room, not necessarily always coaching, but they exist. You always know you can turn to them if you need help, if you need support. A sponsor stays in the room and advocates for you when you're not there. And you really want all three of those, even if they shift and change, if you truly want to accelerate your career. That's how it's.
Brilliant. Does anyone else in the room have something they want to share in terms of how they define mentorship, coaching, with sponsorship?
In terms of managing expectations of the relationship, when it comes to mentoring, it's a 50-50 effort from both the mentor and the mentee, because as you said, they really achieve things anyway. But it's again, in terms of managing expectations when you work with a coach, it's a 20-80, it's 20% of the coach who's guidance direction, there's 80% your own effort, your own accountability, especially execution. Some people have a misinformed expectation of both relationships, so it's centralized to help you get from that perspective.
That's great. Anybody else just about to do that? That's a great explanation. But let's move on then. So it would be useful to hear a positive experience you've had, either being mentored or mentoring somebody else, or coaching, or being coaching. Can you each pick one out for us?
I mean, but one of the things that I was able to do, I sort of qualified as an accountant very early on. And my initial career was in Birmingham. And that's where I first came across this concept of mentoring. What they did there was establish a relationship between children in Antwerp, as it was. And just put them in touch with somebody who has achieved something that they thought those children could aspire to. And the positive there was I was paired with a young man who actually was from Ghana. And he also wanted to qualify as an accountant.
Yeah.
And all I was able to share with him was what I did to qualify.
Yeah.
Okay? And how I stayed the course through to qualify.
So it sounds like that initial relationship was quite organic.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. But the beauty of it is, and this is where answering your question comes in, he also did qualify about 94, 95, and we are still friends to this day. And that's the beauty of it. So that could be, we are still friends to this day.
Yeah.
He qualified what we had 30 years ago.
And what have you learned from him over that time?
Well, I learned two things.
Yeah.
One was the relationship that we had. He has also been involved. Okay. And he has also gone on to mentor people. Yeah. He's not necessarily like me working as an accountant, but he has paid it forward and has encouraged people coming to us to also stay the course in what by giving time.
Yeah.
And helping them see the process.
Thank you. Now I have to grab the mic there. You inspired something's triggered you.
So the positive experience is a shifting in inner belief, right? And why is that so important to me is, and just historically, the reason why I say that a room like this inspires me and listen is because, and then while we're going out achieving like your dreams, my number one belief is that every human has an equitable, or should have an equitable chance to like achieve whatever dream they can dream, right? The reality of society is, and this is why we have Black focus events, is society for a very long time still is imbalanced today. And unfairly is, continuously imbalanced against a demographic of people, which is Black people. So what's been positive for me is, and not only in my own life, but also mentees as well, is when I see a belief shift. And this is 2020, so the Panelists is an annual release of the 100 most powerful people in the UK. There's a foundation, it's called Panelists Foundation. It's now at least when there's a summer school that happens, and they get highly talented students and bring them. There's one I mentored, and his first thing he said was that he was a law graduate, was, I probably won't be able to make it in a while, but anything that you can do to help me, I'll take it. And I thought, well, I promise you this will change, but let's go on the journey first. And it was, let's go about, and it was small things, but I don't think I speak correctly. So I probably won't get accepted into it. Okay. This shift 2 years later is multiple internships, people giving him jobs that he's rejecting because it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah.
And I say, the biggest step actually is just believing that no matter how inequitable the world is, if you believe hard enough and find the right mentors, equity can happen. If you lose belief, that's the first box. So mentoring for me is just re-establishing, because by the way, as children, we're all born with belief. You see babies, they do unbelievable things that probably might kill them. But they believe that they can do it. And society teaches us to forget belief. It's too hard, it's not built for you, it's not designed for you, you shouldn't be here. You say, well, actually, who am I to fight society?
So you see your role as a mentor to reinvigorate that confidence and bring it back out for people.
So this is where the mentor versus coach comes in.
Okay.
As a mentor, it's to say, you live your life, you tell me your dream. Through my lived experiences, let me help you achieve your dream. As a coach, it would be like, let's do certain tasks.
Yeah.
But as a mentor, if I can walk away and say, this person now believes and they execute on their beliefs and dreams, I've achieved half of it.
Can anyone identify the points just raised there in the room? Would anyone like to share anything?
Yeah, I'll just go quick. So, okay, I'll just say
We have a microphone.
thank you.
Yes, introduce yourself.
So, my name is Boki Adarita. I work for St. Sec, and I am a senior product manager. I've been really lucky that I have had a mentor and a sponsor, and I'm quite glad you said it because sometimes I do get confused, like my mentor and my sponsor. But absolutely right, the fact that the mentor is that person that opens the door and gets you into the room, and my sponsor has been lucky enough that he's the one that advocates for me. So, really great. I think the challenge for me is, I'm such an advocate for Black women in tech. They keep saying we're unicorns, right? It's this whole thing around why do we not have enough Black women? So we did say this at the moment we're doing this whole drive around and need to have more Black women, more people that look like me in the room. And I think one of the challenges for me, when we talk about having a right mentor, is someone that looks like me. So obviously all white men. And they are trying their best, but at the end of the day, we just need to recognize the intersectionality that comes in within that diversity when we're having that mentor-mentee relationship or sponsors, but that at the end of the day, as much as the intention is there, they would always feel that barrier that they can't think like me, I can't think like them, and then the whole concept of am I being authentic in trying to harness that relationship and get the best out of it. So obviously there might be options where I go out of my space, my company, to say I want to go into someone that looks like me, might not work within my space, but it's just how to get that balance right, if that makes sense.
That's such a great point. In fact, there's lots of good points in there. Something which has stood out for me then is there's potentially a plurality within mentorship that you don't just need one mentor, you need a few. And it may be the case that a few of them don't look like you, but in your portfolio of mentors, you need at least someone that can directly identify with your lived experiences. Can anyone else maybe speak to that? Thank you. Just introduce yourself as well, please.
Hi, my name is Eliza. I am a volunteer for BYP, and I'm also recently doing my master's in applied behaviour analysis. I like to do many different things, but I just wanted to comment on what you just said. And especially being a black woman, trying to enter spaces, a lot of the mentality around like, am I good enough? If I'm being honest, not to say it's come from my family per se, but the community, is like, just keep working hard, keep your head down, you know, work, and work. And then my mentor, who is not from my background, when I tell her certain things about my pricing, about my value that I put to myself, she's like, you're really amazing. You're worth so much more. Who has told you, just because you're a student, you can't charge X amount? Who has told you, just because of this, you can't do that? And I'm just like, I don't want to say my parents, but, you know, indirectly, because of their experiences, and they don't have the experience that I have and the opportunities that I have, sometimes maybe their beliefs, they're trying to protect me from certain things that they're not too sure about. And then when it comes to people that, like I said, mentors that aren't from my background, they're like, no, that's false.
Yeah.
Like, they'll just straight up say that is false.
Okay,
Can I just say something?
please,
I wanna
absolutely.
say
What a great point.
I
Thank
have
you
to
for
say
sharing.
something. Because, you know, as you can hear from my accent, I'm not English. I'm from Paris, but the ghetto of Paris. So when you think of Paris, don't think about living in Paris. The ghetto of Paris. You know, you do not see on TV. And when I decided to come to London, I didn't speak a word of English, and my mom was scared. She didn't want me to come. She said, "Why are you going to London?" At that time, girls were getting killed in parks. Like, have you ever seen me running? Like, I'm not going to get killed. I'm not going to the park at 2 o'clock in the morning to run. Don't worry about that. And I still went, but you know, sometimes our parents wanted to play safe, because that's all they know. And I think you think about, you know, engineer, doctors, and all those things. This is changing, and you're right, you know, sometimes you have to go against what your parent thinks is best for you to what is really best for you, and it's really hard. But I think that one of my I also want to talk about what was said before around black women, and I'm going to tell you my journey around sponsorship, mentoring, and coaching. So when it comes to coaching, the only people that I coach very much is my clients, but from a branding perspective, I will push my clients to go on stage, do things that they become experts in their field. When it comes to mentoring, I think the thing that I don't have a lot is time. So I have to think in terms of how can I do it on a larger scale when I don't have a lot of time. That's how I have done work that has helped elevate a lot of black women and be visible, which in result became my sponsor. It's very interesting because whenever you think about your people that you mentor, push on stage, becoming your sponsor, in my case, they became also my sponsor. If I want to leave you something, you know, sometime, against another thing that I use when I go to big CEO and time up to get some support whatsoever, I use the technique of FREED, which is, you know, if you find someone that you really want to be mentored, and that's technique in terms of how to secure a mentor for free. If you're looking into someone you really want to get mentored with, and you know, always think 10 things about what people like it's free. So invite them for lunch, and you don't realize it, and you want to interview them or you want to get information. And if they really like you, naturally they will carry on supporting you. But I want you to share something that's so important that we don't quite often talk about. You know, be what you don't see, and if you don't see anybody who looks like you in a room, be that person, because who's going to be able to speak for you if they don't understand you?
I've got another question for you. So when we were speaking before, you talked about the different levels within organisations that you coach to. Can you give us some insights into how you adapt your style or some of the trends you find work through those levels?
So to give you a bit of background, so as I mentioned earlier, so I created GTA Black Women Tech, so supporting women. So the biggest issue I saw is that before BYP was created or what I created, we were always the only one in the room. And so we normalized this. And I was tired of my color being the only reason people remember me, because I'm brilliant, I'm excellent. And so I decided, you know, and helped a lot of people, including Kike, and helped a lot of people that was brilliant and bring them along the way with me. And the more I found more and more women, I found more and more 20, 15 years in the industry, like, how come I've never heard from you? And we always talk about the lack of diversity, but nobody is doing something, or as women, we don't think that we're good enough to be diverse, to be that expert, to be present in so much more. And I realized that, you know, if we want to fix diversity, we need to start putting seed in the mind of these young people, as you said, who probably have been limited. You see, so can come back to my background. In France, there was no black people on TV. So my inspiration was very much linked to, I'm going to be assistant manager in this country, I see people driving Porsches like they drive Peugeot. I'm like, okay, maybe I should stay in this country. And I have inspiration. It's shame for me. You know, and I say like, we need to start putting seed in kids' minds so they can really see that, you know, whatever they've never seen because of their family, the network or whatsoever, and sometimes they have, is possible. And that's how, when it comes to the 3-generation courses, that the activities that you do allow me to elevate the profile of one that's already there, while inspiring the one who was stuck in middle management, and inspiring the next generation by sharing the stories of people who are doing great. Yeah. So it's a bigger impact is done by me being directly involved into it, with those women who probably don't see themselves as role models.
Thank you. And the next question is going to be for you, Dapo. So one of the things that really fascinates me is this transition from being a mentee to a mentor. So I mentor someone who was relatively junior when she started. She's now a VP at JP Morgan. I said to her, have you considered being a mentor? She laughed, like, that's ridiculous, not who me, was the response. But in her mind, because she's humble, and maybe there's a bit of self-doubt in there, she can't see how impactful she would be to someone like herself 5 years ago. And I think that's not a bad thing. If you're walking around thinking you know everything, and I'm going to educate everybody, then it's probably not the right foundation. But it can still be problematic if we've got all this talent hidden away that needs to come out into the open. So how did you manage that transition? And I'm keen to hear other people and their journeys at the same point.
I'm going to be honest, I'm probably her. Okay. In terms of, I mean, one of the first things my niece told me when I come up to this table was, Uncle, don't be humble. You know, say what you've achieved. And that's not me. But one thing I did do is that I've been told, oh, you know, you've achieved this, you've achieved that, you should be a mentor.
Yeah.
And one thing I thought to myself was, if people keep saying you should be a mentor, maybe I should learn how to do it properly.
Okay.
And so I put myself through an executive coaching course.
Okay.
To actually learn the difference between mentoring, coaching, learn what the boundaries are.
Yeah.
For instance, so executive coaching, you don't want to be a life coach. There are clear boundaries to be observed. You don't want to be a pseudo-uncle and so on, where they're bringing their life problems to you. So you want to recognize and ask the right questions and then provide the right prompts.
Yeah. So to interrupt you, I mean, that's a really good point, just to touch on that quickly. One of the first questions I ask people when they say, will you mentor me, is, what do you think mentorship is? Because there's a huge range from having a structured conversation once a month at a certain time to then phoning me at 11 o'clock on a Sunday evening with a trivial question. Now, you've got to set those boundaries.
And I had to look, I basically, as I said, decided to learn. Right. So that when I'm having these conversations with people and they say, I want you to mentor me, I want you to coach me, the first thing I can do is establish the boundaries to the conversations we actually have. And also establish with them how far they're willing to, basically establish where the offense will be caused.
Because it's a two-way relationship.
It's a two-way relationship.
You invest in time.
And so invest in time, and you also want to establish trust very, very quickly, so that if the relationship needs to come to an end, then again you recognize it very quickly, nobody's wasting time. And that's
that ending point, very important, isn't it? Because it can sometimes develop into friendship, which is fine, but then the mentorship bit stops. Or maybe it's a combination.
So you have to establish.
Who's the okay, you've got a question. Yeah, you.
My name's Tabitha, and about what you're saying about boundaries, so I'm going to be stepping into a space, I'm in music, and so I'm going to be stepping into a space of more mentorship and creating and facilitating. One of the things that's, in particular to Black women, one of the things that I've had questions about is addressing problems, getting personal, because you need to be personal, but not too far into the trauma of your experiences to then be able to achieve and move forward. And how have you experienced that being a mentor to different people or coach? the personal side, enough of that for them to be relatable to you, and then having that boundary to be like, okay, that's enough, like you need to move forward. It's not a friendship per se.
Who would like to answer this question?
I'll definitely jump in. And just so I've got the premise of the question is, how do you stay personal about it? Well, so being personal about it, staying personal, and it becoming a personal relationship. Is that it?
Yeah, without crossing that boundary,
Yeah,
so you end up in territory where there's no way back.
Correct. And I think, and I mean, my day-to-day job is actually almost that, and I'll start with actual my profession, which is to be that of a financial advisor, investment advisor, but with people. And very quickly it becomes, we're friends, you know what my family are going through, you know, my children's age. And actually I read the news, I think this is what I should do. And it's like, hey, I know that we are friends, but I'm your advisor. And I know the markets, and I work with you, but fundamentally I have the responsibility to make sure that what you do makes sense. And with mentees, and I've been taught from, every age range, and almost upwards as well, sort of going up and down, is personal helps. I establish the boundaries of what the mentoring looks like. And then there is a sort of special, so for example, we can be personal, but just know that for mentoring, this is when we're going to have a mentoring session. So for this session, let's do mentoring, and we'll put the personal aside. And outside of this is our personal chat back and forth. And if you don't have an established mentoring time, then the entire relationship is blended. And it's a personal and mentoring, and then some personal, and really that becomes all personal. And then I have what I call the SOS moment. So for everyone who I mentor unofficially, I say, if there's an SOS moment, just say, have you got 5 minutes? And I know it's very serious. And if not, then are we mentoring or are we catching up? But it's for me to establish that with the mentee, because the mentee will want as much as they can take. And by the way, this also applies the other way around with mentors I have. And it's, I understand what I want from you, but you tell me what's okay for you.
I think that's a great answer, and I want to have a stab at answering it too. The model that I loosely use is what I call sort of the GP model. So I need to know enough about you generally, your personal life, to make sure the advice and guidance I give you is relevant. But if for any reason it gets too acute in a particular direction, I'm going to refer you to somebody else. So I'm not a relationship counsellor. So if you start asking me about your boyfriend or your girlfriend, I don't know. But I'm put in touch with one. If it goes down the line of mental health challenges, I wouldn't pretend to be a mental health expert. That can be really, really dangerous. So again, I think my role as a mentor then is to signpost you to someone who I can trust, or maybe it's an accredited service that means you can be safe with the referral. Any other thoughts on this at all? Please. Okay, we're working. Just raise your hand.
Hi, apologies for not introducing myself before. Hi, I'm the corporate hippie. I am a burnout prevention lifestyle coach and corporate speaker. So I think it's really interesting because my perspective is very different in that I do specialise in the lifestyle part as opposed to executive coaching. So my goal is to help people take back control of their career and their life. So with regards to your question about keeping those boundaries, from the outset, I will let my clients know that if need be, I will recommend therapy, because therapists and coaches have very different perspectives in terms of going forward. So as a coach, I'm looking at how to get you from B to C so you can get to D. Whereas a therapist could be more interested in how you got from A to B. I'd like a high level overview of where you were at A so I can understand how you got to B, but that's about it. So having those very clear boundaries, like you said, and setting an expectation from the outset helps you to keep that level of personal and professional, because as a coach, technically you're a critical friend, a counsellor and a cheerleader. A critical friend. A friend will tell you yes and everything, but a coach will be a critical friend to keep you on track in a compassionate way. And then when you interact with your clients, even with outside of sessions, it's from that stance, not as a girlfriend, but this is what you said your goal was. Does that look like it's keeping you on track? So it's managing the expectations, setting it from the outset, and making them aware, like you said. That's not my expertise. Therapy might be the best course whilst we work tangentially.
Yeah, that's a great addition. Any other thoughts before I go to closing remarks from the panel? Yes, we've got, so raise your hand high and the mic people can see you. This is good. All the feedback, all the contributions have been spot on, really helpful. So keep them coming.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My question was in regards to the mentoring side of it. So, what would be essential to have like in a mentoring package, if that makes sense? Because I know we're talking about like having boundaries and stuff, which is really helpful. So I didn't think about that, so that's really helpful. But yeah, what are the main things you would obviously depend again what you're mentoring about, but what would be like the key things? For example, like I know if I was to create like a mentorship package, I would remember before I create one to understand to have those kind of not rules, but those boundaries set in place to know those things. Because then you don't want to have a package and then you're like, because they're calling me at crazy hours. So what is the main things?
I understand. So you and that's an interesting way of describing it. Sort of like a minimum package to start off a mentoring relationship. So we can answer this question in maybe a minute.
I just quickly say, to my mind, you would probably think package in terms of coaching more than you would in terms of mentoring.
Okay.
Mentoring, you're really establishing a relationship. With coaching, you're being helped towards a goal, generally speaking. You want to achieve something, and the coach, and I use the word coach in this case, is helping you, drive you, find the inner strength towards that. Help you discover the things you can or cannot do, and establish your own limits towards achieving your goal. But that's the package kind of thing. You establish how many sessions you're going to have and so on. I think because mentoring, as I say, it's almost time limited.
There's a contradiction in terms of you want it to be organic, but maybe as much as we can answer your question is at the very least set a cycle up of once a fortnight or once a month, and dedicate half an hour, I would say. We have one other question that's very conscious of time. Two contributions. It's a question, great. And let's go here first, and then let's go here afterwards.
My name is Lucy. So my question is, how do you approach a coach? So in the sense that I am a student, master's in public health student, and it's kind of like a career change for me because I'm a foreign student. So I've been trying to I spoke to the head of my faculty about coaching, and then he referred me to a particular lecturer, and he said, okay, he has the connections and all of that is in the best place to put me through, but I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I've spoken to him once, but since then it's been okay, come. So I don't really know how to approach him and tell him what I want, and then also how to find maybe mentors too,
Sure. Well, I'll share a quick story. So after one of these BYP sessions, someone just contacted me on LinkedIn. It was as simple as that. 3 or 4 years later, we're still in touch. Any other examples of how these relationships have started?
I'll speak quickly. I think it's probably easier to find a coach than it is a mentor. I think coaches will typically charge for their service or want you to have you at a client. So I think for coaching, maybe say network to see who's an actual coach. It sounds like this person will be a mentor. It might do some coaching for you on the side. I find that finding a mentor, I agree with Dom, people reach out on LinkedIn, cold all the time. When volume gets high, it's hard to say yes to everyone, so I have a three-pronged approach to turning someone from a potential mentor to an actual mentor. And it's when you speak to someone, let's say you have half an hour, you want to achieve these 3 things, how you do it. One is to share your human story. I think we get so attached to our roles, I'm a student. I'm very anti-role in life. You're a human who's studying at the moment. Same as a human who is a banker, same as a human who is an accountant. Remind the person that you are a human with some of your human story, and they'll give you theirs, right? Connect as a human first. Second, credentialize yourself. Give them a reason to believe that you are not worth helping, but that you're someone who is willing to do the work, right? I've studied, I'm doing this, I've worked this hard to get here. And third, and this is the part that people forget, is communicate some sort of mission you're on, I can help you with. So people will say, I think you're great, can you mentor me? I turn around and say, to go where? I would love to, it's just so broad, I'm afraid, so I'm going to maybe wait and see if you get yours. If you say, this is who I am, this is my story, this is how hard I've worked, I'm trying to get here, can you mentor? you know what, I've got 5 minutes, I'm running from the tube to work, sure, let's go.
It's a great point because best mentors or coaches get a kick from your achievements. So if you can give them an outline as to where you want to go, then they want to invest in that journey with you.
I just want to give you a check because I'm a cheeky person. Yeah, so I love what you say, but I have a cheeky approach to this thing. So if you don't have like the pedigree or anything else you haven't yet accomplished, you can actually take that person through an interview process. When I want to speak to a lot of people, I actually put them into an interview. Hey, I would love to interview you on such subject, and you can ask questions that are relevant to you. I'm going to interview to find out about such subject which is irrelevant to you. Works. Again, remember the technique of the cake. Ask over the cake. Hey, we're in the same university. Can I take time for coffee, take for cake, or lunch, or whatsoever? We love food, and trust me, once
Okay, we'll do one more contribution from the audience and then we'll close the session with the panel sharing anything they want to about mentorship or coaching for no more than a minute, if possible.
Right, okay. Hello everyone. I'm Aura. I work as a medical manager in a pharmaceutical company. And I completely take on what you said earlier. I've been recently approached to be a mentor. And I have mentored in the past, but more informally. But this is for a formal organization. And I remember I saw the email asking for mentors, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, I'm not there. But then they reached out to me and asked me for mentors. So I guess the question I have is, what books would you recommend? I've looked on Amazon, there's so many. So yeah, maybe just one each. Like, what book do you feel has helped you the most?
I've never read a book on relationships.
Documentary?
I've read a lot.
YouTube video?
So I'm probably a bibliophile. Well, I can send you my list. But no, I actually personally, I think the course I did was extremely useful, very diverse, and yeah, I can share my bibliography with you. The specialist books now. I mean, it started with the first one back in the 70s, but now specialist areas are also, there's diversity coaching, there's women's coaching, there's, lots of, depending on what area you are.
I'm an avid reader, but just be careful you don't read so much and take yourself out. I think you have to start and learn through that journey, and then you'll develop the passion and the love for maybe the books and help to direct you in a particular way.
Don't say the point. And I'll give you a book I know a lot, but it's not a book for mentoring. If you approach that mentoring as a learning journey, then my question is, how did you learn to do life? What's the book that you read to get to where you are today? You're still here.
I read a lot.
What's the one book you read? Correct, right? You read books and information to teach you how to be better in one facet or the other, but fundamentally, once life is all said and done, you will have learned from everything that's happened to you so far. As a mentor, you are also a mentee of your mentee. You are learning how to mentor better through it. I have learned more about being a mentor by just being one than I have reading anything that exists. A book that I do like is one called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. It's a Canadian psychologist that came out recently. And the reason why I say this, any dream job that someone wants to go and achieve, there is always a human story to them. I find self-esteem to be the crux of one of most people's hurdles. Do you truly believe in yourself to get somewhere? The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem is a dense book. It's probably one of the most self-interrogating books on how you believe your self-esteem is set.
Great. Okay, let's close the session by each of you sharing anything you want to share about mentorship or coaching for no more than a minute. Otherwise, we'll hold up. Okay.
I don't know why I think it's not because I actually don't know what I want to say.
What I would say is, I very much appreciate not having the access to mentorships and coaching, and I'm actually doing that. It's a fellow of University, for instance, so I'll go in there and
you just for your, I think really underestimate the importance of what you give by giving back to people. And when you see somebody doing really well for themselves, and when I see that, it makes me so much happy, because then it's a power now to also make an impact. So really think in terms of, be present. You can be an indirect mentor, but being visible on social media. Remember that as well. You don't know who's watching you, but really just go from an act of giving and nothing else. And trust me, if you believe in God, He will give you 25 times back.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. Now, please close the show.
I guess one is embrace that being a mentor and a mentee is a lifelong journey, so you can sit on both sides for your entire life. And if you get to the point where you are exceptionally old and you think no one's older than me, I appreciate that mentors can be younger. And do not feel as if you have to qualify to be a mentor before you start. You are alive, you've learned something because you are still here today. There is someone else who can benefit from that, so share it.
Thank you.